Over the years, marketers have been analyzing the different generations, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and recently we have seen there's a red thread among all of them: speed. They all want everything to happen now. My name is Francisco Serrano, and I am the Chief Speed Officer at One to One and the host of the Now Gen podcast. Join me. Each episode, we talk about what's happening with brands, see how brand professionals across different industries cope with this fast-changing market, and live up to the expectation of this now generation. Welcome.
This episode is brought to you by One to One, the fastest day-to-day design and content studio. For more than 17 years, One to One has been their premier partner for many Fortune 500 companies, proving that tight deadlines shouldn't be a hassle.
Okay, so welcome to the Now Gen podcast. Today, we have a very exciting and special guest with us. Jenny O is the general manager of PepsiCo Labs, Global Tech Venturing and Innovation, and we will be talking about how this now generation is changing the culture within big company and a leading company such as PepsiCo, and what is she doing and how she's navigating this uncharted waters. So welcome, Jenny, to the show.
Francisco, thank you very much. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to chat about this topic.
No, I mean, it's just, we were talking about off the air right now that there's a lot of things going on, right? From irrigation in agriculture all the way to the metaverse and coming and going and all this information. It's just too much information. So I'm excited to have you here because you are like at a very central space within a huge company that influences a lot of categories. So, but before we jump into all of these, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're coming from, and what do you love about all this innovation world?
Yeah, I'd love to. So just to explain in a nutshell what we do at PepsiCo Labs in my role, we're all about bringing in emerging tech solutions, really focusing on startups that solve critical business problems for PepsiCo. And that, we have a whole process whereby we work with our business partners to really identify our critical needs based on our strategic priorities and understand where we have some capability gaps. And then we go out looking for the right solution and really selecting the best of the best. And then we pilot those rapidly in market, all with a goal of scaling up the solutions that are impactful for PepsiCo. So in terms of the areas that we cover across the business, as you mentioned, from all the way from irrigation to the metaverse, if you think about PepsiCo's value chain all the way from seed to shelf, we start pretty much with agriculture, manufacturing, supply chain, warehouse, logistics, all the way through to retail planning and execution, as well as marketing, the way we engage with our consumers, which is a critical part of the conversation today. And then different areas of our business, like data and analytics, our away from home business. And across all of those, we're constantly focused on how do we bring in emerging solutions and innovations to really challenge what we do today and how we do things today.
Yeah,
so hopefully that gives you a sense of what we do.
Yes. In order to bring it more down into the level of a conversation because at the beginning you and I talked and the conversation could go into, oh, it's the new Frito-Lays, you're in charge of that, and it's not. Yeah, it's not that precisely, but it also influences the innovation thinking and the tech thinking of how to take it to the next level. And that could include some marketing strategies or whatever, right? So I want to ask you, so you have a background in innovation, right? And
yeah, I have a bit of a mixed background. So take a step back. I've been with Pepsi now for about 16 years. So it's been a while since I've kind of entered the PepsiCo system. I have a background. Prior to PepsiCo, I was in strategy consulting. So I worked at Bain & Company for a while. And then I worked in finance, actually in private equity up in Boston. And then I joined PepsiCo in a corporate M&A role. So, new business, acquisitions, partnerships, new business opportunities, and worked globally, both Europe and also in Asia Pacific for a while. And then since then, I've been in a mixture of strategy roles, finance roles, longer term innovation, leading strategic initiatives. And I think that experience, while quite varied, has really set me up for this role because I have a broad perspective across the business. And also, you know, a lot of my roles have been also external facing as well as internal. And in my current role, it is a mixture of both. It's really working within our business. And I think that's the reason why we've had so much traction in the business, is that we're embedded in the business and we have to know how PepsiCo works, both in terms of our business operations, but just as an organization, but also equally being focused externally. So, you know, what's really happening on the landscape, who's really pushing the thinking, what are the innovators, and then bringing those in to form the right partnerships. So I think that's kind of the experience that has kind of gotten me to this role, and the capabilities that I bring to this role that have served me well in this role.
Yeah, and trying to unlock all this, you know, interesting sorts of things that you and the PepsiCo Labs do for PepsiCo. Can you explain through an example, of course, that is non, you know, confidential, of course, what's the role you guys play within PepsiCo and how you're changing it, responding to this, you know, strategies and changes that the now gen is presenting into different areas of the business, right?
Yeah, I mean, one key area is enabling our business to respond to, you know, the constantly changing consumer demands and expectations. You know, we've chatted about this before, but if you think about a company like PepsiCo, and the areas where consumer expectations and demands are evolving, I think you can kind of think about it in three buckets. One is around our product, so our food and beverage products, and the product itself and making sure that meets consumer demands, and then the way we get it in the hands of our consumers and how they consume it. I think the second bucket is around our brands. So how do our brands engage with our consumers, and what's evolving there in terms of how consumers want to engage with our brands? And then the third one, which increases by the day, is around kind of social values. So more and more consumers, it's not a separation of what we expect in terms of social values versus, you know, what I consume, how I engage with my brands, and, you know, just my day to day. So I feel like across all of those three areas, PepsiCo Labs is really bringing in the right solutions to enable us to move more quickly, understand the consumer, and then meet them where they are and engage with them in the right way. So just to give you a couple of examples, you know, on the product side, you know, whether it's tools around innovating more quickly or understanding consumer needs. So, you know, we've brought in social listening tools that enable us to have a pulse on the ingredients that are trending. Where are they in the cycle? So are they in the upstage at the kind of maximum stage, or are they going mass? And it's kind of critical for us that we're relatively a mass company. So we want to get into the product cycle and the ingredient cycle at the right stage. And then, you know, whether it's concept testing, tools for concept testing that do things in a much more faster and nimbler way, or whether it's innovation forecasting to enable us to focus on fewer bigger bets. So those are just some examples of how we enable innovation to be more on target and, you know, in line with consumer demands. And then on the brand side and how we engage with our brands, I think there's so much here in terms of how we're working with the business. Really exciting stuff. Like if you think about, and this is the core of what you do and, you know, your expertise, but where consumers are today and how they engage with brands and content has evolved so much from where we were 10 years ago, right? Just in terms of where consumers are, like if you look at the number of people playing games, and, you know, it varies from 2 billion to 3 billion to 4 billion, but that's just like crazy numbers, right? And so we've brought in new technologies around gaming that enable our brands to, and we have quite a few brands that are very heavily engaging on the gaming front, but enabling those brands to be even more authentic in influencer streams, for example, or in-game advertising that doesn't disrupt the gameplay. Because, you know, I'm not a hardcore gamer, but I can understand if you're a gamer, the last thing you want is a brand popping up and saying, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
So ways to engage in gaming, for example, authentically, and then personalization is a big area that we've been focused on as well. So with the wealth of data out there, consumers more and more want to be spoken to in a way that resonates with them. And so if we can use that data in an effective way to provide you the content that you want, I think that's another effective way and tools that we've brought in to enable personalization at scale. Another area is, just on that theme of new spaces and authentic ways, obviously metaverse being the buzzword that it is today, but that again is quickly evolving cultural change. And I think brands like Pepsi need to test and learn now. I think we're at the stage now in the hype cycle where we can test, and it doesn't have to be, I think people are forgiving of certain misses at this stage. I think they want brands to start engaging in those areas and exploring. And I think the right time now is to test and learn so that we can really consolidate our strategic approach around the metaverse, whether it's NFTs, crypto, etc. So hopefully that gives you a sense of how we're bringing in different solutions across all of these different areas, solutions and kind of knowledge and inspiration to our organization to enable us to respond quickly to consumer needs. And I mentioned sustainability. I won't go into it too much, but again, that's an area where consumer expectations and demands are changing. And so we've worked with our agriculture team to do drip irrigation, for example, that's saving millions of liters of water, as well as in manufacturing, as well as looking at different packaging solutions like reusable cup systems. So there's just some examples of how we're helping our business meet consumer expectations.
Yeah. And talking about, the challenges that you have in this fast-paced changing market, you said test and learn, and then you start, like, for example, the gaming area, you start the research and you go deep, and then when you are preparing yourself to present this technology to the Cheetos or all the brands and certain platform, and then it changed again, doesn't that it's like, are you kidding me? I just finished this whole thing and now you're changing. Isn't that demotivating for people like you?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of points on that. I think we work hand in hand with our business owners, and I think that's been a little bit of our secret sauce as well. So it's not like I'm the tech expert or I'm the expert in gaming and I'm going to bring this solution and present it and sell it into my business. So I will work together with, for example, our Doritos brand leads and our gaming leads to say, okay, what are the areas where we think we have some gaps and where are the opportunities? And then we go out looking for the solution. And while things are quickly evolving, some of the things that we look for are building competitive advantage and building advantage that is sustainable for some period of time. So, while there may be hype around certain things, we want to make sure that it's a solution. Because, it takes a while, even though I say we move very rapidly to test, and we do relative to bringing in a partner and trying to, work with them for 12 months to get an MSA in place will enable a pilot to get into market within weeks or a month. But having said that, it takes us a while to test it, to really extract the KPIs from it. And then the thing that takes a while is scale up within our business and really embedding it into the way we do things and really making it a partner that we work efficiently with, etc. So I think if we target solutions that are kind of the buzzword for now and a bit of a flash, then I think you're right. I mean, things will change tomorrow. But we try to look for technologies and solutions that give us competitive advantage and to some extent a bit of a sustainable competitive advantage before we really say, okay, there's a strong case for building this out as a capability in our business. Let's scale this up and embed it in the way we do things.
Okay, so the example you were
So
saying
it's a bit
about
of sorry, go ahead.
No, the example you were saying about sustainability, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's not going away tomorrow. It's going to be here
No.
for a while.
Oh
So
yeah.
you're starting those programs, and that irrigation is going to take you a long mile, and it's going to be good for the business because it's embedded into the organization and into the brands, and that into the consumer, and that into a virtuous circle that is going to
Yeah.
help out keep the brand relevant to the.
Yeah, exactly. So on that irrigation example, it's a company that we've formed a strategic partnership with. And now, we don't own all of our farms. We have a network of farms, and we'd like to provide that solution to all of our independent farmers in our network of farms to say, hey, this is going to really help your irrigation, save water, save you money, and be good for our planet. So let's roll that out systematically throughout our organization. And similarly, but on a completely different example, if it's something like a marketing tool, like, for example, we've rolled out a tool called and Creative X. This is public, it's on our website, so I can mention by name, but it's a tool that enables that uses computer vision and AI to test every single piece of digital content before we put it out there. And prior to us systematically rolling this out throughout our organization, some of our earlier tests show that a significant portion of our digital content wasn't even meeting kind of basic guidelines in terms of showing the brand within a certain number of seconds before consumers click skip. So like solutions like these, we're really trying to embed into the way, just the fundamental way we do things. And where we can, we try to embed it within our own internal systems and platforms to make that easier for our organization. Because as I mentioned before, the thing that is an even heavier lift than finding the right solution and testing it is scaling it up and driving change management throughout our organization. I'm sure you can appreciate, as with every other large organization, that part, it can be challenging, especially in a matrixed structure. So once we discover something is really effective and can give us advantage, like driving that throughout all of our different BUs, sectors, brands, etc.
Yeah, and then sometimes some people will call it, internal politics, or it's all the processes that makes it difficult to advance. But once you break through that part, that not many companies do it, or many projects, maybe you launch 20 projects and only 3 are successful, and you make them through the next step, then that it's a win, right? So it's not something that every project you're going to have is going to be successful, but you need to not quit and push it, because you don't see it like tangible in money now. You're going to see it in the future, right?
Well, I actually consider it successful that we don't let every company that we pilot get through to scale up, because that would not be a workable model, right? So success for us is if we can pilot something rapidly, and then at the end of that make a clear decision on, yes, there is an opportunity to scale this up and this could be a huge impact on our business, or no, it didn't exactly pan out the way we thought it might, and let's pause for now or cut ties. Or usually they're great solutions, they just didn't impact our business in the way we thought they would. And I think startups actually prefer that kind of clarity, as opposed to not really sure, it seemed okay, let's try it here, let's try it there, let's think about it. So success for us actually is to test things rapidly and then select a very small number of them to really drive through the organization. Because if we selected even half of the number that we piloted, it wouldn't be feasible for us. Like as you mentioned, scaling something is difficult. I don't think it's necessarily politics, but just changing behavior is often difficult. And I think just the majority of humans by nature have, get used to the way they do things, and then
Comfort.
Comfort. Yeah. And innovation can be challenging, right? You're trying to change the way people have done things in the past. So I think that's another area that we've thought really long and hard about, just the change management and the different levels of the organization and how we have to work at every single level. So from the CEO down, down the whole organization structure, as well as from the bottom up, like the people who are actually using the tools on the ground have to really believe in it and be passionate about it. And I think that's the only way we can really drive change.
Yeah. And I want to shift a little bit the conversation into culture, because you were talking about small businesses, startups pushing and trying to influence, and that is done through people, and people won't need to change and need to adapt and need to the new reality. So culture is changing in the world, right? It's faster than anything else.
Faster than ever, right?
Than ever, diversity, sustainability, millennials, Y generation, etc. What role can PepsiCo Labs play in enhancing PepsiCo's cultural relevance, in a culture that's changing by the minute?
Yeah, I mean, for PepsiCo, to your point, things are changing more rapidly than ever. I think just with all the different elements coming together and the level of connectivity that we have in real time around the world is just driving so much so quickly that, and at the same time, Pepsi has always emphasized cultural relevance. I think throughout the different generations, a big emphasis has been, cultural relevance and all the different elements of that, whether it's music, entertainment, all the different areas. So in terms of how Labs is enabling PepsiCo to stay culturally relevant, I think, as we mentioned before, like Labs really provides a window where we can bring in the latest technologies and to enable us to gain insight into what's happening culturally. And I think just by nature, people who work, especially in the marketing areas of PepsiCo, tend to be relatively on the pulse. But often, it's difficult to translate those insights into action at scale. And so, really what we do is bring in some of that visibility into what's happening and also bring in the right tools to enable us to act very nimbly on those elements of, on those areas that enable us to stay culturally relevant. And maybe just a few examples, I think, we spoke a bit about the metaverse, and, this is a quickly evolving area. Literally, I don't think like anyone knows exactly how it's going to pan out. Sorry, what's that?
No, nobody knows where's it going, how is it going, and
I think people have different hypotheses and different kind of visions of what it could be, but we're all trying to figure out how best our brands can engage in these spaces, and we're partnering with different players across the business to really develop a clear understanding of how we want to test and learn in the next short to medium term. What are the right areas for us to engage, and where do we have a right to engage? Like, people want authenticity in these spaces. They don't want brand slaps coming in and people trying to sell them stuff in the metaverse. So where do we have a natural place or right to engage, and how do we do that? And then, what do we want to test and learn, and how is it going to add to our objectives in our core business? And potentially think about new business models as we, I think metaverse has so much potential for being the basis of so many different business models. So it's really exciting for us to think about, but at the same time, we don't want to distract ourselves from the core of our business. But I think it's really exciting to think about how our brands could engage on the metaverse.
Yeah, for sure. And that how is influencing how the culture of your company, from all the way from the the people that distribute the products across all the supermarkets, whatever, and all the way through assistant brand managers, VPs, and warehouse. And that is culture and how you embed it. And And what you were saying is that it all starts with somebody, pushing that needle a little bit further every time. And as I see, your area is just putting that little piece that is going to help evolve in a way, like you were stating, right? So that's very exciting. And
Yeah.
and
I mean, I think I was speaking more to kind of culture broadly externally, but definitely within PepsiCo, I really feel like it's not just us, it's our whole organization. Because if you think about innovation today in the CPG space, it's not just about products, right? It's not just our food and beverage products that we put out there. And I think traditionally, CPG companies have thought about innovation as in, okay, what products are we putting out there? But with the quickly changing pace of technology today, it's really, and again, kind of on that point, technology is no longer just in the realm of IT. So it's really every single, as you mentioned, every single area of our business is touched by this culture of innovation. Whether it's the farmer, or whether it's the person manufacturing, or whether it's the salesperson and merchandisers in our stores. And we've touched different areas of that. So, we're testing, and image recognition isn't new, but we're testing different ways that image recognition, computer vision, and even video recognition can be used for potentially our store people to go in, and very quickly digitally capture the store layout, all the competitive shelving. So it's amazing
or
to see.
even I'm sorry, but even buy, just a very boring example, but if you go into a machine and you want water or Mountain Dew, whatever, and just face recognition, oh, it's you have 2,000 credits,
Yeah.
boom, that is your boom, that's
Yeah,
it.
and there's so many different ways. I mean, people are very wary of face recognition, understandably so, because of privacy, and that's another topic we could touch on, data and
Yes.
all the different things that come along with that. But there are so many ways that you could do that. Like we're exploring, cup technology. So you just hold your cup up and it knows exactly your preferences, what drink you
Wow.
like. You don't need to scan your payment. It just, like, everything's automated.
Wow.
So all of that's possible. We just need to prioritize and figure out which ones are the
Exactly.
biggest opportunities for us, right?
Yeah, that's why.
So many different ways we could take this conversation.
Yes, you don't have idea of really all the impact that you guys are doing, right? And so congrats on that, because it's the work behind the scenes that it's really pushing everybody to out of their comfort zones in the end. So
It is, but it's also very encouraging to see the kind of the thirst for innovation. I think that's what's really made us grow so quickly as a capability within PepsiCo, because each of the business groups are saying, hey, we want to work with you. So that's awesome. And I think that's a cultural shift too,
great.
which is great to see.
Yeah. So we have talked about all the role that you're playing, and what is PepsiCo doing with this, PepsiCo Labs, and what would you say to the audience, the key takeaway, one takeaway they can okay, so it can be from how to make innovation and technology keys within, and partnering the brand, as it doesn't have to be a huge corporation in order to implement this kind of a methodology to kickstart innovation. But what would you leave as a takeaway for our listeners?
I think something that's really helped us, because I think we were a bit of an idea about 4 years ago and started as a bit of an experiment. And now I would say we've got pretty much traction across the whole business and starting to drive some huge levels of impact. And I think something that's really helped us is solidifying a model that works for us. So whether you're a large corporation or a small corporation, like just thinking through, like, clearly, what are your objectives, and developing a model. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Like, the process can be relatively simple, but just having conviction, having it clearly defined, having conviction so that everybody understands your vision. helps so much in bringing everyone along. And while it sounds relatively simple, I think that's been a key part of our secret sauce in really helping to drive the organization. And just because everyone's so busy with their day jobs, if you don't make it super clear what you're trying to do and how you want to do it and how you require their input and partnership at different stages along the way, like no one really has the time. Like to some extent, you have to make it very easy for your organization to come along with you. It's never that easy, but as easy as you can. And hopefully that's somewhat helpful for different people in different types of organizations, but that's been really helpful for us. And based on that foundation, we've really built different elements of our program and the way we work and the way we work across different functions. Because I think a key part of what we do is just enable things to move very quickly. And for a large company like PepsiCo, it's like having all of our functions lined up, like IT, info security, data, and legal, so that when we start a pilot, we can say, check, 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 done, let's start. And maybe it's not as complicated for some of the smaller organizations out there, but just clarity of vision and the way to get there has been very helpful for us.
Yeah, and I can compliment that because I do believe that is very important. What you said about having a clarity of what success means for you. So you said it clearly. For us, success is this. So if you have that path and you have that, this for us would be success. Because if you're going to be uncomfortable all the time, you need to know that being uncomfortable for a reason, and you're achieving results. So you're winning, you have small wins, and then you make the thing go into a traction mode, right? So
can I add one thing? I think the other part has been having fun in our roles, which is kind of novel in some ways. I think you have fun in your role. And everyone on my team super loves what they do. So I think that enthusiasm carries through every time we start a program and we partner up with our different business partners. Someone said, I've never seen a team as happy as yours. And I don't know if it stems from the fact that we really love what we do and we're passionate and it's exciting. And like having that combination of like fast-paced innovation and being able to drive massive results through an organization like PepsiCo. Anyway, so I think especially during the last 3 years where everyone's like hanging for fun, like that level of passion has really helped us a lot. Sorry, that's a little
No, I agree. I mean,
I think it's actually a fact though.
It is a fact.
It seems somewhat whimsical, but yeah.
No, and we should take that as all of us as a guide, because not only in business but in life, if you don't have fun,
right,
what's about? I mean, you only have one life. You might as well just always have something of fun in everything that you do. For example, we have reached a section of our interview that we're going to have fun.
Okay.
Okay. So, Jenny, I'm going to ask you, as a specialist, from all this strategy background and innovation, and the audience would like to know, what is your favorite brand for breakfast and why?
Oh my gosh.
Give me a top
I feel
of mind.
so compelled to say something PepsiCo, but
okay,
favorite
so
brand.
Do you want
there
us
are
to jump
PepsiCo brands I absolutely love, like Sabra hummus, and people don't know that's PepsiCo. And my son is obsessed with, I have to mention some of the PepsiCo products that we love as a family, of course, as a brand. Yes. But I'm actually very conscious about, what I eat. So I tend to have my usual breakfast, which is avocado toast. I come from Australia, the land of avocado toast.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think that has a brand unless it's avocados by Mexico.
Yes, avocados
which was in the
Mexico.
Super Bowl.
Yeah. That would be but you don't buy it. You don't buy the avocados from Mexico brand, or do you?
No, I don't.
No.
But
Okay, well, that's
what's yours? Now I'm curious.
Mine, I don't do breakfast, but I can
You don't do breakfast?
No, I'm trying
you have to have coffee at least.
intermittent fasting thing, so I don't do the
Oh, good for
breakfast.
you.
But yeah, coffee, I love Folgers. You
Oh,
know,
really? I love my Nespresso. That's a brand that I actually really love.
really Nespresso, and
Yeah,
then
I'm
you
a bit of
really.
a switcher because I experiment across brands and I'm always keen to try the new things. But Nespresso is actually something that stuck with me for a while.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah.
We're having Alicia Enciso. She's our CMO. She's the CMO for Nestle USA. So I will make sure
Ah,
that she knows that you are a fan of
there
her,
you
one of her
go.
brands. Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Well, anything else you would like to say, Jenny, before we wrap this one out?
No, it's been a pleasure, really. And thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure to talk to you as always.
No, thank you very much, Jenny, for having the time in your busy schedule to jump into a call and give this value to our listeners. So thank you for that. And it was great having you again. This was Jenny O from PepsiCo Labs. And she just talked to us about how PepsiCo is changing the world through technology in this fast-paced.
I love it. We're
Yeah,
changing the
that's
world.
how you
Okay.
have to put it. Remember, fun, not
I'm
just,
gonna put that as my tagline on LinkedIn.
for sure, it's gonna work, right? So,
Awesome.
and thank you, all of you. If you would like to listen to more of this important players in the marketing world, how they're navigating this uncharted waters of the now gen, please stick around and listen to one of our episodes. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.